Michael Saylor has completely lost his mind and is hopelessly going off the rails. The community is now pretty divided. On one side, there are people who are celebrating this, while on the other side, there are folks who are completely losing it. Because Michael Saylor is now saying, never sell your Bitcoin, even if you have to sell your kidney. And that's a quote or a saying that triggers a lot of people. And Michael Saylor is either going to look like a complete idiot if his deal doesn't work out, or it will make him the greatest financial genius of all time. We're going to take a closer look at this statement and why that's so controversial. Also, we have new inflation numbers that are just okay for now, not good, not bad, just okay, you could say. A lot of people have speculated that with the new inflation numbers, if they come out bad, Bitcoin would be sold off further. But no, for now, it looks pretty okay. That is why Bitcoin has stabilized somewhat here, although one cannot yet say that the current risk of a crash has now passed. We're seeing a slight recovery, but we shouldn't read too much into it yet. And then there's a massive meeting between Elon Musk and Bitcoin maximalist Cynthia Lummis, where they talked about the Department of Government Efficiency and a lot of things that are coming to light. And we're going to take a look at what this meeting is all about, because it's also relevant for Bitcoin. But first, let's take a look at the new inflation data in the U.S. Here are the PCE core inflation data. As we can see, we have an expectation of 2.6%. And that's exactly how it turned out, because we're still dealing with the problem that inflation is a bit out of control. And when inflation is running wild, then you can't really lower the interest rates. If interest rates don't go down, then there's no new, fresh money coming in. Bitcoin is heavily dependent on global liquidity. And as long as more money doesn't come into the market, Bitcoin is really struggling here. So a lot of people also assume that the massive end rally in this cycle can only be triggered by new liquidity. So if we do QE here in the US, if interest rates go down significantly and the current inflation in the US justifies it, that's not the case yet. Donald Trump is definitely going to lower the interest rates. He wants to trigger the absolute pump here, but Jerome Powell is still holding back a bit. And yeah, the inflation numbers are looking pretty decent now. You can also see now that Bitcoin has calmed down a bit because of the inflation numbers. Then there was a little rebound upward because a lot of people were thinking, oh man, are the inflation data going to be really bad? But no, it's not that bad, but it's not super good either. It's just kind of mediocre and okay. And now something has happened here that we really need to take a look at, which has led to massive discussions. Currently, it's leading. So things are really heating up back and forth here. That's really crazy what's going on here. Michael Saylor is going off. He's saying here, sell a kidney if you have to, but keep the Bitcoin. You can sell the kidney, swap it for US dollars, and buy Bitcoin again, but you definitely shouldn't sell your Bitcoin because it can often happen that, okay, you're already leveraged in Bitcoin, and now the Bitcoin price is going down. And what happens? Now you have to inject more capital. And if you don't have any fiat money left, then you have to liquidate something, either sell your house or sell your car. Sell off any valuable items. And when there's nothing left, you're left with just one option. Either sell your kidney or use it as collateral. I don't know if you can borrow against your kidney anywhere, but I think that's what Michael Saylor meant here, and Michael Saylor is the ultimate leverage in the market. And many people now agree with him, saying, hey, Michael Saylor, of course, never sell Bitcoin and so on. I'm a bit critical when it really affects your own organs, your own health. Then it really is game over. I mean, what good are 10 Bitcoins if you end up with one less kidney? Or if, let's say, the filtration in your body isn't really working anymore and you're stuck on a dialysis machine, then those 10 Bitcoins won't do you any good. A lot of people are thinking that Michael Saylor isn't really serious about this. He's more joking around. He definitely tapped into the zeitgeist here, and people are flipping out big time. Let me read you a few comments, for example, from Peter Schiff. He says here, first you told people to max out their credit cards and mortgage their houses to buy Bitcoins. Now you're telling them to sell their organs. Aren't you ashamed? And yes, you can say about Peter Schiff, you can hate him and so on, but here you have to give him some credit. I mean, if the whole trade works out, Michael Saylor, if this all works out, and I still see very, very big opportunities and very, very big chances that this will work out, then he will be the absolute Bitcoin genius here. But with statements like that, he makes himself pretty vulnerable to criticism. Similar to Bukele, he also made jokes and things with the IMF saying, yes, we don't need the International Monetary Fund in the IMF. And now he has come under pressure from the International Monetary Fund and now has some regulations here in El Salvador. They have to change things. First, he was just joking around a bit. And it is similar here with Michael Saylor. He's also making jokes and all that. And everything's still okay and all good. I also think that MicroStrategy will rise massively. Again, I also think that MicroStrategy has the potential to outperform Bitcoin in the next 3 or 4 years. But if something goes wrong here, then tweets like these will come back to haunt him. Hey, guys, feel free to let me know your opinion on this, because this is a heated debate. Let me know, would you pawn your kidney? Do you think it's okay if someone says, okay, you're selling your organs just to hod Bitcoin? Or do you see it differently, like saying, okay, hey, sell your Bitcoin in an emergency, So the way I see it, if you want to sell Bitcoin and you have a really good reason, then you sell your Bitcoin. I mean, it doesn't do you any good to die with 10,000 Bitcoin, and then you'll just be the richest guy in the graveyard. But you really should think it through. Whether what you're buying actually brings you value in life, and that is exactly it. The thing with Bitcoin is that the time preference changes. You don't just buy any junk anymore. You really think it through like, okay, am I selling Bitcoin to maybe finance my dream house? Maybe it's my biggest dream. And if that really takes me to the next level and makes me massively happy, then yes, then I just haven't made the best financial decisions, because the house will probably lose value compared to Bitcoin, but I can now live my dream. And if that's your, let's say, life is fulfilled, then sell Bitcoin. But don't sell your Bitcoin just to buy, I don't know, a bag of chips, or to go out partying on the weekend and just get wasted, or something like that. I mean, that's not the idea behind Bitcoin, but rather the idea of Bitcoin. It's true that you're building wealth for generations and really changing your consumption habits. It turns completely around by 180 degrees. But we have more comments here. Giovanni, here from the Power Law model, says this is really, really tasteless. Health always comes first. People see you as a leader or at least as a role model in your field. That's a terrible attitude, even as a joke. And that's definitely true. But like I said, I do think Michael Saylor is saying this a bit humorously. You might need to understand his sense of humor a bit. And yeah, social media is supposed to trigger something. You also have to find the trigger point somehow. And that's something. They do on YouTube too, where they exaggerate the title and stuff like that, because that's just the game to get pushed up in the algorithms, you just have to throw out some trigger statements or something like that. And one person thinks it's good while the other thinks it's not. But then there are also statements from people who say, if you haven't sold your organs to buy Bitcoin yet, then you're not in it long enough, you're just not bullish enough on Bitcoin. Other people then ask in the comments, how much would you pay me for my kidney? So, how much money do I get for my kidney? I don't think the tweet is that bad. But some people are really upset because Michael Saylor is also under fire, and everyone wants to try to hit the trigger point and somehow dethrone him or something like that. Then I also understand why some people here are angry at Michael Saylor and attack him. It's always like that. When you have some success, when you're a big personality, people try to come at you, hate on you, and yeah, haters gonna hate. But like I said, drop your comments below and let me know what you think. Now, there was something else really explosive. So there was a meeting. Let me show you this. Here we had Cynthia Lummis, the Senate's DOGE caucus stream team, had a productive meeting with Elon Musk. Now let's get to work. And here you can see Cynthia Lummis in the picture. Here you can see Elon Musk in the picture. And Cynthia Lummis is the hardcore Bitcoiner who's looking to accumulate over 1 million Bitcoin here in the US. She just met with the Department of Government Efficiency, along with Elon Musk. Many have been wondering, okay, are they talking about a Bitcoin strategy reserve here? Maybe you did it on the side or something like that. I have to disappoint you, though. The main topic here in the conversation was not to buy Bitcoin, but the main topic here was simply to reduce the national debt in the USA. And she has now brought some very, very interesting analyses to light, was here in a television interview, and has published everything that came out of this conversation. And that is really the best. You have to take this into account because in the long term, it will make the USA more attractive again. US government bonds will become more attractive and long-term interest rates will become more attractive. And that has an impact on Bitcoin again, but definitely check out the live interview directly.
And of course, you were in that meeting yesterday. What can you tell us?
DOGE is finding things that any business should have under control, but the federal government does not. Let me give you a couple examples.
Important. This is about the Department of Government Efficiency uncovering a lot of corruption, a lot of fraud, and massive scandals. We're going to go through the whole list now, and it's really going to blow your mind. But she's saying, how is it possible that the government can't get it together? Every household or every business has to have it under control. If I don't have my spending under control, if I don't have a balanced budget in my company or my household, then I am either personally insolvent or my business is bankrupt. But the government can just do whatever it wants, and that just can't be the case neither in the US, nor in Europe, nor in Germany. And you really have to start questioning that now. Why isn't this being questioned? So for a long time, this just hasn't been questioned. It's just perceived as common or completely normal. It's just, hey, completely normal that the state, which doesn't have a balanced budget at all, is throwing out massive amounts of money, giving the money to some politicians or starting up some corrupt projects. But every normal company is enslaved here, has to file tax returns here, has to record everything here. And now check this out. It's really going to blow your socks off.
They found an agency that had twice as many credit cards outstanding as there were employees at the agency.
So They had found an agency here. I don't know how to translate it exactly, probably a department or something like that. They suddenly issued twice as many credit cards as there were employees. I have no idea what they do with the credit cards, but that's just how it is. If you're not managing your own money, but rather other people's money, then you're being very, very inefficient. So you just end up spending extra money. And I know an American Express or something, it costs something, the premium card, I think $500 or something like that a year. I don't know what kind of credit card they have, but it still costs money. And when you have more cards than employees, that's just money down the drain, contributing nothing to productivity.
They have found fields on computers that say, where is this payment being made to, and to whom is it being made for what? And those fields are empty. They've never been filled out. Money's outgoing. We don't know where it's going, and it is not, it's the worst of business practices, and it's happening with billions of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
Talking here about an analysis system. So when you're making state expenditures, especially here in the Treasury, I think it's mainly the Treasury that she's talking about. Then you just have to fill out where the money is coming from, where it's going, and how much money you're paying out somewhere. There were these fields, and nobody filled them out in the past. People would fill it out, but then at some point, they stopped filling it out. And then everyone did it, and eventually no one filled it out anymore. And then suddenly, no one knew where the money from the Treasury went, who spent it, and how much was spent. And it's probably similar to the recent report that says the US doesn't even know exactly how much Bitcoin it has. Have any been lost in the balance sheet? If you don't track the whole thing and don't know where the money is going, that's actually the easiest thing to do. Even if you want to get your finances in order, just check what money is coming in and what money is going out. And then you can just make a plan and see, okay, where do you stand here? And if you just don't fill that out, then you're going to have some big problems. I think now the Department of Government Efficiency has even made sure that these fields will be filled out in the future. So that can't happen anymore. And Cynthia Lummis says, here billions are being thrown around, not small amounts, but really crazy, hefty sums.
I was reading that there were like more than 4 million credit cards or something, and there were 2.5 or 3 million people working in government. How's that possible? People had dual credit cards, and then they were using those credit cards for what? Transportation and trips and things like that?
That's just it, Maria. We don't know. When I was state treasurer in Wyoming, the auditors would come into my office at the end of every fiscal year, and they were there for 3 months because I managed all the money in the state of Wyoming. We don't do that in the federal government, and there's absolutely no excuse for the irresponsible handling of U.S. taxpayer dollars. That's what Elon Musk is looking at.
Yeah.
He is finding waste, fraud, and abuse, and it's extensive.
Unbelievable. Well,
You're confirming again that Elon Musk is completely taking over here, exposing fraud. And this whole thing just can't go on because it's not just minor fraud, but massive fraud that's happening. And Elon Musk goes even further. He says that in the EU, it's even worse than here in the USA. That's why he doesn't want to do that with the Department of Government Efficiency in the EU either. It's just so crazy when you think about it. So you go to work every day, bust your butt, and then you get screwed over. Inflation is robbing you. On top of that, the money that's being taken from you through taxes is just being dumped into projects that simply vanish into thin air, some credit cards for people who don't even exist, or some pension claims for people who are somehow 300 years old on paper, or something like that. There are just all these really crazy things happening here, but that's the world we live in, and Bitcoin could be a way to bring more control back into the mix, more transparency into the whole thing. But it's not just Bitcoin on one hand, but on the other hand, the fiat money system also needs to be exposed. All the fraud, all the trickery has to be revealed. And Bitcoin is a tool here to help expose that fraud. But feel free to let me know in the comments how you see it. If you're still bullish on Bitcoin, I'll drop a link for you below. 21 Bitcoin, the easiest way to buy Bitcoin. And if you want to secure your Bitcoin as best as possible, I'll drop a link for you below. Also, I'll include a link to a Treasury hardware wallet. The best way to store your Bitcoin with the highest possible security, without having to trust any third party, and without the risk of getting hacked. Everyone needs a hardware wallet, at least in my opinion, to have the highest possible security. With the code Bitcoin Hotel, you also get 10% off the purchase of such a hardware wallet. All right, folks, see you later.